up, you guys? It has been quite a minute since I've been on the channel. The boys and I have been split up working on a bunch of different projects, so it's good to be here. Hello. I am in Seattle in the studio for a few days. A lot of the team actually is in town this week. We're working on a lot of cool stuff for you guys. We have a recent app update for iOS, which offers a slow shutter shooting mode. So you can shoot motion blur and light trails on your phone in a very simple way. So I wanted to kind of give you a rundown of what this update looks like, what you can do with it. Your photos are actually saved as live photos, so you can export as a JPEG or an MOV, and you can share in a variety of different formats. You can make GIFs out of it, you can make loops, however you'd like. This has really kind of gotten me out of my creative box. I've shot differently, I've thought about my scenes differently, and it's been really good for me creatively. It's given me a little kind of energy boost. I want to shoot more, which is never a bad thing, and we're so excited to share it with you guys. So yeah, I'm going to kind of dive deep into the features of slow shutter photography on your phone. Let's do it. Okay, so first is motion blur. I actually had never shot motion blur on my phone before this, and motion blur can just sometimes seem like kind of a niche or specialty photography that doesn't feel very accessible, but with this app update, it makes it accessible to you, and I've learned now that I've shot with it for a few days that you can use it in a creative way that fits you and fits your style and how you shoot. And if you just kind of like mess with it and experiment and play with it and approach it with an open mind, there really is a lot you can do. So motion blur is essentially just averaging all of your shots. It's almost taking like a short video and kind of averaging them. So it's going to smooth out and blur any motion, and it's going to keep all of the static objects in the shot nice and frozen and crisp. To be able to get the best results for motion blur, you're probably going to want to shoot on a tripod. This is just going to help keep your scene still, so that the blurry part of the image is only the moving part. Because if you're handheld, you can technically shoot it handheld. You just have to be as still as possible. Sometimes that's just hard. So shooting motion blur is actually very easy. Make sure you're in the motion blur mode. When shooting in either mode, you'll see that you have the option to choose how long you'd like to capture your scene, anywhere from just a couple seconds all the way up to 30. Also note though that there is a bulb mode, which is offered traditionally on like your big camera. So if you want it to go longer than any of the options we've given you in the app, or shorter, you can with bulb mode. So you have full manual control over how long you'd like to capture the scene. And like I said, all of your shots are going to be automatically saved to your camera roll as live photos actually. So this gives you some opportunity in post-production to actually choose the exact moment of motion that you want to capture as your still. So in your camera roll, you go and press edit, and you'll actually choose your key photo. So any part of the motion you captured, you can choose as your key photo, which is so nice. You have a lot of control over what you're exporting and what you're sharing. Do note though that you cannot do this in the Moment app. You're going to have to go into your native camera roll app to choose your key photo to make sure that you're sharing the best shot. Yeah, so I shot some waterfalls in Utah, just kind of your typical motion blur shots. Again, it was day one. I'd never shot anything like this on my phone, so it was a good way to just see how the feature works and get a little bit of a feel for it. I do love the photos. They're pretty. They're not my normal style, but it was fun to, again, shoot a little differently. So, like I said, you can shoot handheld, but the shake in your hands, just the natural small shake in your hand, can make your whole image blurry. And sometimes even when your phone is mounted on a tripod, when you manually press the shutter on your phone, it can bump the phone just enough to make everything slightly blurry when you're not intending it. So the Bluetooth remote is a great way to handle your phone without ever touching it, to make sure that it remains still and you're capturing the scene how you intended to. So while I was here in Seattle, I've been hanging out with my new coworker Mike.
That's Mike.
He's a designer on the content team, And so we actually ran downstairs to go test out some Bluetooth remote shooting. So we just did some silly stuff on the street to kind of test this out. Okay, let's do one where I'm just gonna stand still, and you're gonna walk in front. You ready? Yeah. Go. Do it again. And then there's, of course, the light trails mode, and it does exactly what it sounds like it does. It makes any moving light in your image become a trail of continuous light. So essentially in this mode, your images are stacked over top of one another with priority for the brightest points, which makes the light trails and the rest of the scene remain the same. This mode is going to work best when you're working with bright points of light like car headlights or tail lights, fireworks, or illuminated fountains. The app is made so that your exposure remains consistent throughout your entire capture, so it takes no extra work on your end. The app is going to kind of do the heavy lifting for you, and it's going to make your stuff look amazing. Alright, and then as far as exporting goes, like I said, your shots are all automatically saved in your camera roll as live photos, but I do want to mention that straight from the Moment app, when you export your shot, you can export as a JPEG file, so a still, or you can export as an MOV file, so you can have an actual video saved in your camera roll of the action that you captured. So this, of course, gives you a ton of freedom of how you want to share your slow shutter images, because you've got a JPEG you can work with, a live photo you can work with, or a video you can work with. So honestly, the possibilities are endless of how you want to share your slow shutter shots. And again, this is something that can push kind of the limits of your creativity and get you outside of your normal boundaries. So your typical slow shutter shots like waterfalls and freeways, while they are gorgeous, they are not the only things that can be shot in these modes. So I actually took some time the other night to shoot my coworker Melissa here in the studio, and we just kind of went crazy with it and we experimented. We were here for like 3 hours, really late at night. We just blasted the music. Ready? 6. We played with some Lytra torch lights. We set up this whole scene. I kind of styled her, and we just played. We experimented, and it was so much fun. I ended up kind of finding out a ton of little techniques that helped make the shots kind of fit my style and what I like to shoot. These portraits I shot of her, I actually found that having her stay still and me moving the camera a little bit intentionally almost created a double exposure kind of look in some of the shots, which I really fell in love with. As you'll see, these shots are kind of bizarre and wild. What I loved most about shooting Melissa is we weren't going for anything specific. We didn't have any final images in mind. We just kind of played, and we ended up what we ended up with, and I'm so happy with the stuff we got. It was kind of a pleasant surprise, and it showed me how much fun this new feature is. So, all that to say, I love this new feature. It's easy to use. It's a great way to get outside of your normal limits of photography. It's a totally unique feature. It's really amazing to have this on mobile. We say this a lot, but it is amazing what your phone camera can do if you give it a little nudge in the right direction. I mean, this feature is so cool. We're so happy to be sharing it with you. We hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. We encourage you guys to go try shooting some slow shutter stuff. Please share it with us. We would love to see. I hope you have as much fun with this as I have had. It really is a blast, and yeah, that's about it, you guys. I guess I'll see you in the next